Hi, my name is Elisa Morgera. I'm the UN Special Rapporteur on Climate Change and Human Rights. I'm Italian and I live in Scotland. My job as UN Special Rapporteur, which I took up on 1st of May of this year, is to provide independent advice, including independent from the United Nations, even if I am supported by the UN Human Rights Office, and clarify what states, public authorities must do to protect our human rights, including children's rights, in the context of climate change. My job is also to clarify what private companies need to do to ensure that they also play a part in respecting our human rights in the context of climate change. So my job also entails listening to many voices, including children's voices, learning from the research and the evidence that many states, but also researchers, civil society organizations, and others are conducting to understand how human rights are negatively impacted by climate change, but also how sometimes our human rights are impacted by certain climate change solutions, so that I can then tell states, public authorities, and also business what to do or not to do to prevent further negative impacts on our human rights, and also to choose to prioritize different solutions to climate change that can best protect our human rights. And in that context, it's really important to listen to the voices of those human rights holders who are most affected by climate change, because we don't all experience the negative impacts of climate change equally. And in fact, children, but also women and girls, persons with disabilities, indigenous peoples, persons with albinism, communities living in small island states. They're all being much more negatively impacted than other people. And therefore, we really need to make sure we listen to them as a priority and make sure we understand what are the reasons why their human rights are more affected, and we listen to their ideas about how states and business can do better to protect their human rights. Because at the end of the day, it's really in their experiences and understanding their knowledge of climate change as they have experienced it that we have the best understanding of what we need to do to protect human rights in the context of climate change, and in fact take more effective, more meaningful climate action altogether. So my job is really also to organize spaces and support, give also recommendations to the United Nations in different parts and to governments to create spaces for all of them to listen and learn from children and other human rights holders, and really make sure we listen and we learn from your experiences and your ideas, and have a dialogue about what action is needed and most needed to protect children's rights to a healthy environment and all the other human rights that are negatively impacted by climate change. As you can see also from my pin, one of the recommendations that I'm working on together with many other members of civil society is to make sure the climate COPs, those UN climate summits, are spaces where children can be safe and can be genuinely listened to. We have a lot of work to be done there. But it's important to keep in mind that the climate COP is not the only place where we need to listen and learn from children and take better decisions on climate change. There are many other international processes that have to do with the protection of the ocean, with the protection of nature, with plastic pollution, where important decisions have very much to do with climate change. And therefore, we need to make sure that everyone's human rights and children's human rights are protected, and children's voices are heard to that respect. So I hope that this is helpful. My virtual door is always open, and I'm looking forward to hearing how I can myself be in a constant dialogue with children around the world and see how my role and my independent advice can help in the most effective way possible to ensure the protection of children's rights in the context of climate change.